Alright, welcome back everybody. This is our solo actual play, D&D and 5e, picking up with Lia, who just leveled up after last session, so we've got some new stuff to think about, some new options, some new things to show off. This is, of course, episode 14 in the series, and if you want to catch up in those episodes, you can catch up on, I think, probably the last week's that's still on in the VODs on Twitch. Otherwise, you just need to hop over to YouTube. That stuff's below. Red Ragged Fiend. You can subscribe there, and you can go through all the uploads up to this point and get caught up on that. It's all in a nice playlist. Makes it super simple. So, let's talk about what happened last time, which was our second part at the Riverside Conservatory. So we Leah did her best thief impression and was attempting to escape with an unconscious Omer. So, what did we learn during that last session? Well, as we were escaping, as Leah was trying to get Omer's unconscious body out of Riverside Conservatory, so they were being chased by the guards, they ended up bumping into Arias. You know, when you stop looking for Arias decides to show up. We had how many sessions, how many messages did we send trying to track down Arias? And then, of course, once we'd finally given up on him, then he just wanders into the scene. So we came across him as we were the vice chair of primordial studies as we were trying to escape the conservatory. But we found out from his secretary that he was in hiding, and so he kind of took us to his safe house, this sort of root cellar or buttery, I guess. Anyway, somewhere beneath a nice house in sort of the merchant district, he's kind of hiding out in the cellar of. We assume the family has gone to some other home that they own, or they're just out of town, or maybe this. Well, we're pretty sure that this house is not totally abandoned. The people do own it because there's furniture and things like that in it. They've been taken care of. They're just not here right now, so maybe they're summering somewhere else, even though it's not quite summer yet. Let's see, what else did we do? Oh, we returned the sacred ring to the cult of Narimana. We did that. So we paid back our dues for what they helped us with Dragon Wormling. We actually were able to sell them that resistance potion to radiant damage, which we weren't sure we were going to be able to pawn off on anybody. But for whatever reason, they seemed interested in buying it, so we sold it for a pretty decent price, and that gives us enough money now that Lia and Omer should be able to show up the next morning at the community service muster and pay their Wergild, pay off their community service for the manslaughter charges from the bounty hunter attacking us in the city. What else did we learn? Oh, we discovered that the original letter that Terrell sent Leah, the whole thing that sort of like kicked off this entire adventure arc, and was kind of the source that led to a whole bunch of questions about Harold and what happened and where he is and what anything has to do with our research. We found out in the last session, now that we had some other documents of Harold's, some other notes and things like that we know were specifically from them. If we looked at that original letter compared to those notes, the handwriting did not match up. And so we have determined that the original letter that was sent bringing the kind of ended up with Leah showing up the Riverside Conservatory the first time was a forgery. It was written and sent by somebody else. Who? We still don't know. It was not Arias, we know that. But other than that, we do not know. And after the whole Riverside Conservatory debacle and being able to sell off some things, and basically we're going to bring this, assuming everything goes smoothly, famous last words, but assuming that happens, we're going to show up at the muster, we're going to pay off the Wergild, and this is going to kind of close this small arc of our adventure. And so with that in mind, I went ahead and gave them a level up for both Lia and Omer during that time. So we do have a few differences. So one of the things that I ended up not giving Lia a spell, and I think I talked about this at the end of the last episode. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I was still deciding on it. The idea that I was not going to give her free spells like you're supposed to in Rules as Written 5e D&D, because she's a wizard and she can basically just take spells from wherever. I felt like it would be more fun, and especially the way that the treasure has been rolling, at least so far in our adventures, is that we're probably going to get quite a few consumable items, which means quite a few potions and quite a few spell scrolls. So getting new spells I don't think should be an issue, but if we end up falling behind, it is something I'll keep in mind, and maybe I'll make a concerted effort to make sure that we have the opportunity to get some more higher level spell scrolls and things like that to learn those spells off of. Now, for most wizards, that's a real pain in the butt because it takes 2 hours per level of spell to copy it into your book, and I think 50 gold per level. But as I was leveling up at level 2, as a level 2 wizard, Lia gets to pick her sort of subclass, her archetype. And we went ahead and, after looking through all the options, I was like, the one that fits the most with her background, with kind of becoming a wizard, just was scribes. So she is a scribe wizard. So she is the nerdy library researcher of wizards, which makes sense because that's sort of who she was already. We're just now bolting the wizard part onto it. But that also means that it's like way different. Like, I think it only takes, if I remember correctly, 2 minutes per spell level to copy into your book. And I think maybe the cost is reduced, or maybe there is no cost when I use the wizardly quill. It's something like that. It hasn't come up yet. I'm sure it will. But still, it's probably going to be transferring things over. That is probably going to be downtime activity, and probably not something we're going to do on stream. I mean, unless I just end up taking extended rest after getting a powerful spell scroll. But otherwise, I don't see us kind of stopping in the middle of a session to do that. So I don't need to know those rules right off the top of my head, and I can always look them up if I need to. So, what are our goals for this session? Because now that we write everything, our entire world kind of zoomed in real quick, so that way we could deal with Riverside Conservatory and Carjunton and everything going on here. But now that we're coming to an end of that, the world's going to open back up a little bit for us to maybe figure out some other things to do and some other things to research. We're also pretty sure at this point that there is a ticking time bomb as far as how long we can stay in Carjunton at this point. We've been doing not great things. We've been upsetting people with different alignments. We have stolen some things. We have trespassed in some places. We have, pretended to be some other people. We've killed somebody. Actually, we've killed more than one, right? No, wait, I think we've only killed one person. But, so, I mean, Lia by herself has a pretty nondescript look to her, besides her nasty scar that she has on her face, which is something that you can kind of hide pretty easily, especially as a woman, like wearing some sort of face muffler is probably going to hide that pretty easily. Or some sort of veil or something like that, which wouldn't be, in my mind, too out of place for this sort of environment, how it sort of shows up in my head. Has more of a Algiers sort of North African kind of feel to it. The architecture and sort of like stylings of people's clothes and things of that nature. At least in my head, that's how I was imagining it. So having somebody that has a face covering on as they walk around in the day is would not draw a lot of attention, is what I'm saying. But at the same time, we did break into a place that she worked at for 10 years. And even though we're pretty sure that the guards don't know who she is, or who Omer is, the secretary probably does. And other people, like, if you give them that description of her, they may figure out who she is, though most of them, they did not know her before or they haven't seen her since she got the scar. So if they don't know that she has a scar, that would make it more difficult for them to identify them, because they probably wouldn't think it was her. So our goals, I think, for this time, I think we've got a few different goals that we can address. We can try to find Harold's contact. That might be one of the last things that we end up doing in the city. And that person is supposed to be in the sort of Basilica area, which is sort of the government offices area of Carjunton. We could research the corrupted Myrmidon plate. It's probably a lost cause to try to go back to Riverside Conservatory, which was our major lead for it. We still haven't really discussed with the Cult of Naimana if they know anything about the water elemental, the water Myrmidon corrupted armor, or if they're interested in that, and if maybe they could help us with that, which is a potential, but I don't know how long that would keep us in the city. Like I said, I think if we hang around the city too long, things are going to get much more difficult than they've already been, and things have not been super easy already. So we have that. Obviously, we're going to pay off our community service. It's not really a goal, it's just what we're going to do first. We could investigate the undead situation. Again, something we might do with the cult. We know the cult is fighting the undead. And we know that it's maybe linked to the peddler, which is maybe in some way linked to Harold, as Harold is trying to keep the peddler out of his offices. And that might have something to do with the slaver's affliction. But that seems like a lot of stuff to try to get done in the city. And then we can also talk about trying to get Arias out of Carjunton, because it sounds like he's in danger. Right? That's what he's in hiding, so he's in danger. Now, we did talk last time, and he doesn't really know necessarily who's after him. I think that's what I don't think we firmed up who's after him, do we? No, only that he's hiding. I can't remember if we actually point blankly asked that question to the Oracle or not. We could do that. I'm going to add that to the list of maybe things we look at. Okay. So this thing, I think maybe, as much as I'd like to spend more time in Carjunton, I don't. Like I said, if we keep hanging out around here, it's going to turn out really, really badly for Lia. And things are heating up, right? The heat's closing in. So I don't think we can spend much more than maybe this session in Carjunton, maybe part of next session. It's going to be pretty close, though. So I think maybe we try to figure out something with Harold. See where that leads us. If that doesn't really lead us anywhere, we can maybe figure out some place to take Arias that's going to be a little bit more safe than Carjunton. Try to get him out. And maybe that will give us the ability to maybe ask some people in the countryside. Right, we still have some question marks about other sages, other people that were on the research team. Because right now we just have Arias. Not Arias. Arias was not on the research team. We have Omer and Lia. But presumably there are others. I mean, that's how we let it. It's a team. It wasn't a duo. We said that. We started with that. So there may be some other sages we could track down who might have some more input. Also, at this point, with Harold dead and somebody after Arias, it may be worth checking up to see if any of the other team members are even alive, or if these people have done something with them. So that's sort of my feelings about like what we're going to try to do this time. Let me go ahead and share some of this with you. One moment, please. All right, here we go. All right, so we got that stuff over on the right. Let me move this up. So those are sort of our goals that we're going to look at. So let's do the session start. So one of the things that is kind of weird about the scribe subclass of wizard is, one, you get a wizardly quill, which is like a magic writing quill. It's a magic pen. It basically is a pen that doesn't take ink, and it can do, whatever colors and shapes and things of that nature that you want as far as the flourishes of what you want to write or draw. So that's cool. I mean, it's not super useful, but it's cool, I guess. And that's the one that I think that I feel like the Wizardly Quill wouldn't, maybe not totally negate the price of copying over spells into your book, but I feel like it might reduce the price of it. Because you're already writing with a magic pen. Maybe. I'll have to double check. Maybe there's some rulings. Maybe that's been addressed in some errata or UA or something. I might have to check that up next time we need to copy some spell scrolls over. And the other thing we get is an Awakened Spellbook. So I was like, oh, so the spellbook's going to come to life. All right. Well, the first thing that came to my mind is like, all right, but like, what is possessing? I didn't like the idea, necessarily the idea of it was like the druid spell kind of awakening, where you just like, give a plant sentience, basically. I didn't really like just giving a book sentience. So I wanted it to be something like, maybe there is something that sort of possesses it, like the spirit or soul lodges itself into this book using sort of Lia as a conduit for that. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, oh, if it's more of like a possessed kind of thing. It's like, well, there could be some actual people that Lia knows, some spirits that might possess that based off her background. So I do want to check that. So the first one I want to ask is Lia's spellbook possessed by the spirit of Harold? Yes. Okay. Alright. Well, we know that for sure. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add that Awakened Spellbook. I'm going to go ahead and add that into her notes. And it's going to be... Alright. So I think it's possessed, but I have this idea that it's probably not a very strong signal. That this is going to be something we're going to like slowly work out, just to kind of keep with the mystery, keep the fun of the game kind of going. Like, I don't want her, since it was possessed by Harold, I don't want her to just be able to open the book and be like, Harold, tell me everything that happened, who's after you, solve all your mysteries, also what's the cipher, and all that stuff. I don't want it to be just like an easy button that's going to take us away from a lot of questing and adventure and kind of unraveling things this way, because that's at least for me, I think it is for most people who do solo RPGs, solo tabletop playing, is that you want to find out, right? You want to unravel the mysteries yourself and make the connections. Like that's a big chunk of the fun doing it by yourself, right? Because you don't get the sort of social aspect of the game since you're playing by yourself. So you get to dive a little bit more into sort of like the mysteries and making connection, kind of doing the world building and exploration aspects, which I really enjoy. And so I don't want to cut myself out off from that by making it too easy. So my idea is that we we understand that it's Harold, but if you remember like the very first season of like Stranger Things or things like that, like Liminal Spaces, where it's like you can kind of you understand that there's an entity there and you can maybe understand who it is, but your ability to communicate with it is extremely basic. And so I think that's just sort of where it is right now. But I do want to check a roll on it. So I'm just going to keep this really simple. Can the book speak? Sort of like full phrases, like full thoughts. I don't think that's true. I'm going to give this a -5. Okay, so no. Can it answer yes/no questions? No. All right. So does it give Leah maybe like flashes? Like maybe she sees like Harold, like memories of Harold or something like that? Like flashes from Harold's life? I do kind of like that. No. Well, whether I liked it or not, that's not what's happening. Or maybe it's the same idea, but instead of like flashes, like a precognition sort of empath kind of thing, maybe it just sometimes there's like written sections like detailing a scene. That would also be kind of cool. Okay, so yeah. So occasionally sort of Harold sort of expresses a summary of a scene of his life or something like that. The problem is right now is that because we can't really talk directly to Harold, we can't inform him in a way to like ask questions and get an answer for that. But that does give us the ability, something we can sort of like tap to be like, oh well, maybe I could check the book to see if there's anything that in sort of Harold's sort of dramatization, like writing of his life, if any of those scenes match up with anything that we're talking about. So we can still maybe get some answers from that, but it's not going to be straightforward, and I kind of like that. All right, so that was the first thing we need to figure out. And I think Leah discovers all this stuff during the night, right? I think if you're the sort of person who works in sort of a creative or problem-solving field, that sometimes you kind of hit like a roadblock, right, and you're kind of stuck, and then you find a new path, and then right sometimes things just kind of waterfall and come fast and thick. So I think that's what had happened here, is that I think right Leah's an elf, so she only needs to trance for 4 hours, and then sort of the rest of that time she can be messing with her wizarding stuff. And I think she's probably been doing this off and on this entire time, though we haven't been really detailing it. And in this one, she kind of finds one of those paths, and she's like, oh well, now I can get the quill to write by itself, so now I don't have to worry about ink and stuff like that. And I found something in the spell book, something that had attached itself to the spell book while they were in the Riverside Conservatory, and she can tell as this sort of magical writing random sections of paragraphs, something from like, I like to think of it like sections in the way if you played the Skyrim video game, where when you look at books in there, and so it's maybe like just a few paragraphs detailing something from Harold's life. And I think it's very easy for her to suss out that it's Harold. It probably says Harold if it's not written in first person. Or she can just tell by the situation, by the context clues of who's talking and any other named characters that are in that section, if it is written in first person. But, oh, pretty sure this is Harold. And so maybe Harold's mind is just sort of soul is lost in these pages. Which is kind of a fitting in for the librarian, I guess, be part of a new library as a book on the shelves. It's kind of poetic, I guess. Alright, so that kind of gets us where we are. So let's figure out which goal we want to focus on first. I don't think we want to do the undead. I think helping Arias get out is probably the last thing we're going to do. So it really kind of comes down to, are we going to do something with the Myrmidon plate? I don't think so, because if we were going to do that, we'd also talk with the cult of Narimana about the undead, and we're not really going to do that. So I think we're just going to go look for Harold's contact. But before we do that, we gotta go to the muster in the morning. We gotta pay off our community service. Get this done, get it behind us. So the first thing we need to know is anybody looking for Lia and Omer after their overnight clandestine affairs? Like I said, her description's kind of vague, and Omer... Let me look at Omer's physical description real quick, but I don't think he's really got anything. He wears a tiger-eye pendant, but I would assume that was in his shirt and probably wouldn't be pieced together. It's something that really sticks out. So I'm just going to roll a flat 1d20 are the guards looking for people like them? Yes, okay. So it is going to be more difficult to move around the city. Alright. That's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine. Alright, so we're going to the muster. Does anything happen to us on the way to the muster? Now, are there any repercussions for us? I think what we're going to do is we're just going to... we're going to roll for like our normal encounters, and if we don't get an encounter on the way, what we're also going to do... yeah, let's do that. That's fine. That's fine. So does anything happen to us on the way? No. Alright, so what I want to do is basically have them roll kind of a disguise check to just kind of pass it off. So I think it would be a deception check, but I don't think they're trying to talk to anybody, so I'm going to make this... yeah, it's just a straight deception check. So they're kind of helping each other. Yeah, I don't know if that hinders them. If they're together, that's not necessarily any better. But I guess they can do a better job of looking at each other and being like, oh, you need to cover this up. Oh, maybe stand this way to, make yourself not as identifiable as who you are. So yeah, I'll go ahead and give her the advantage. She gets +2 to this roll. 16, alright. Not bad, not bad. Okay. Okay, oh, the DC was 15. So we did beat the DC, so we don't really get stopped by any guards or anything on the way to the muster. Now the question is once we get to the muster, are they on the lookout for them at the muster? I don't know. So let's just go 50-50. Alright, they are. Alright. So they are on the lookout for people that look like that. So we did our charisma check and that helped us get there without any issue. So I think we're going to have to do another one at the muster. Just to try to keep a low profile while paying off their things. That's a really good roll though. That's 20. Uh-oh. Here. So that's... unfortunately, that is a 21 DC that I just ended up rolling. Ooh. I don't really want her to get caught. I don't want this to spiral out any more than it already is. It already has. But I was gonna say, we do technically have 1 point of inspiration we've been saving for a while, but the likelihood of me rolling higher than I gotta roll a 19 on the die. That's only a 10% chance. Um, okay, no, it's fine. I think I know what we're gonna do. All right, so there's the muster where there. Lia and Omer show up, and rather than sort of like get into the yard where they kind of do the lineup for everybody to then sort of pick their hirelings for the day, she kind of goes over to, and I assume that there's like a table that's set up, probably under an awning next to some sort of storehouse or guard station or whatever it is. And there's an officer and probably another guard that's there, and there's somebody who like takes the money, another person who's like signing all the paperwork, and they go directly up, and they go to pay their thing, and as they do, as she's sort of like taking out her purse and like counting out the gold pieces to pay off the rest of their fine, technically their service. And as they're doing that, I think that one of the guards like leans over to the officer and is like whispering in their ear. This officer's like, and then I think that immediately starts grilling them sort of about what it, like looking through the ledger. It's like, oh, I see that you were hired here yesterday by person whose name I just forgot, and that's not good because that's her close friend. Oh gosh, what is the name of that guy? Hold on. Camille. There we go. So I see here that you were hired yesterday by Camille Muse. What exactly did you end up doing for him? Now, does Lia remember what Camille said that he was going to use them for? I think this is just going to be a basic. I'm going to make this technically an intelligence saving throw, because I think that makes the most sense. Oh no, that's not good. Yeah, well, no, it shouldn't be a saving throw, right? Because it's not an effect. It should just be a skill check, right? Because there's not going to be a damage or anything off of it. There's no mechanical condition that comes from it. So it would just be a check. And if it's a check, that means that Omer gets to aid her because Omer was there for the whole thing. I guess that makes more sense. You can tell that I'm really in the trenches trying to fight for her here. Because I really don't want to do more of the storyline. It's really kind of bogged us down already. Off of a chance encounter with the Bounty Hunters Guild. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and let him give her the help action. And thanks, Omer. So yeah, I think that this guard was like, so what did Gamal have you do yesterday? And I'm sure there's a footnote in there about like what you're taking the people off to do, where you're taking them to, what you're having them do, and the rate for all that, and how many days, and all that good stuff. And I think they're like, and I think they make up something, and I'm gonna guess that it's not right. It's like, oh, now it's incredibly suspicious. Good. That's what we need. More suspicion. Lia and Omer, not off to a good start today. The question is, what is the guard's reaction to all this? What's our sort of guard captain's reaction to this? So I'm just going to kind of roll 2d6 like normal sort of reaction. 6. Okay, so I think that you can feel that there's sort of a growing tension in the air as they're sort of having this exchange, and you see that the captain and the purse holder next to him both kind of sit up a little bit more in their chairs, and they kind of tighten up a little bit. There's a sort of standoffishness and almost a sort of like, is this going to be a situation kind of feeling. So my thought is that to sort of belay this, I think that Leah's just going to try to push through it. And by that I mean, and let me check out more stats as well. +3. So yeah, let's do that. We're gonna, well, they both have the +3. It wouldn't matter. So I think she's having this third. She's kind of struggling with this exchange. I think it's Omer kind of like steps in to sort of like take the lead role, and I think he's like, look, we've got the gold. We're here to pay off the fine. We're leaving town. We're gonna get out of your hair. No need to make this a bigger thing than it already is. And I don't know if that's technically deception. I think it could be deception or persuasion. I mean, I'll just say it's deception, I guess, because we get a slightly better bonus for it. It's going to be the difference of 1, I think. So yeah, sure, it's a deception. Why not? But they will get advantage because they're working together. Oof, that 1. Ugh. But that leaves us at a 14. So maybe that passes. No, that's a 16. That does not pass. No, I want to spend the inspiration here as they're trying to talk their way out of this. I don't think so. All right, here's just an oracle question. Does our guard captain give us a counter offer? Sort of a like, hey, I'm willing to maybe. I see you've got a fat purse there, which is true. I mean, Leah's pulling money out of this purse, but she has like more than 140 gold pieces in it. So, would he be open to a bribe? I'm going to say +3 to this roll, and that's only because somebody who's in this sort of position of power, who has sort of them and their purser next to them, like the two of them are, let's be honest, probably making some money on the side. This is a very cash-heavy business, and they could definitely make this a very easy sort of secondary means of money for them with and embezzling that coin with or getting bribes or whatever it is with probably very little chance of repercussions. So I think there's a good likelihood. So I'm gonna give this roll a +3. Okay, so that is a yes, 15. So I think at that point we're starting to so I'm just gonna roll. What's good coinage? Well, let me look at this. Let me look at my DM stuff real quick because I've got some rewards for money, and I think I'm just gonna use that as sort of the thing. All right. So I need 2 d20 rolls. First d20 roll for our How much money does he want? Alright, 1d50. 1d50 what? Okay, 1d50 silver pieces, which isn't too bad. Alright, so that instead of a 63, that would be a 13. So he wants 13 silver pieces. And I think that it's not like he's, our guard captain that's like, give me 13 silver pieces. I think it was sort of a kind of talking back and forth. Because they also don't want trouble, because that makes their lives more difficult, brings more eyes to them. Probably not what the guards want, especially if they're trying to make somebody on the side like this. So I think they're just trying to get away with some money, trying to get the bribe off. And I believe we tried to bribe... that's a good point. I'm pretty sure we tried to bribe them the first time we got called to the muster. And it didn't go well, if I remember correctly. So is this the same guard captain? Because that's probably going to make a difference. Yes, okay. Alright. Noted. So that's just going to be... We're just going to make that 13 gold pieces. Like, he knows that they're the play, and they already tried to solicit a bribe from him once, and then... I think now they've seen that, oh man, these people are probably going to be more difficult than I want them to be. I think he's going to demand that 13 gold pieces, which is fine. So that's 100... sorry. That's alright. So 13... 142 minus 13, so that would be 129. So 129. So that's the bribe. Right, to just be like, hey, let's go. Like, don't make this into a thing, or it's going to be a pain in the butt for everybody. So here's your payoff. Let us go. We'll wash our hands. Everybody washes their hands and walks away. Alright. How much do we actually have left to pay, though? Alright, so we had 16 of 99, so I don't know off the top of my head what that is. 84? Alright? No, that's not right. 83. My head is not in the math today. Yeah, 83. Okay, I was right. Alright, so our... Well, I had this stupid thing up. I should have just done the other calculation one. Alright, which will leave us with 46 gold. Which, we were living the high life there for about 10 hours. Most of those we were asleep. But we did have some money for a little bit. We didn't have a chance to spend on anything, but this will pay our thing. Here's the question that I have aiming with this, because the captain's taking a risk, taking this bribe too, right? And they did fail some things. So in addition to having to pay 10 times what they were going to have to pay, because they tried to bribe this guy before, and he knows that he could probably get more out of them because of that fat purse. But my question is there any sort of ultimatum, like, you have to be out of this town by such and such time, and I never want to see you in this town again? If I do, we're going to lock you up. And so, is there any sort of ultimatum? Yep. Okay. Do we get more than one day in town? No. Not only no, that's the heck no. So that's plus some other hindrance. I think not only can you not have another day, you've got to be out of here by the end of, like, the market day, basically. You need to be out of here by, in our world, or at least in my world, 5 p.m. end of work. You got to be out of here. As people are leaving the city for the day, you need to be in that queue that's going out the gate. Alright, well that incredibly compresses our time. I thought we would have more time, but the important thing is that that is paid off. So we no longer have to worry about that. Good. Alright. So we have finished our stuff here. We did our community service. Oh, that's true. We did say that there were people looking for us, but we didn't really talk about who was looking for us. So actually, I want to go down. I'm just going to assume the conservatory is looking for us. Or actually, we'll say the guards are looking for us, because that makes more sense with the interaction we had. Is the conservatory looking for us? No. Alright, who else is here? Is Norcruth looking for us? I stopped myself because we haven't really come across any of Norcruth's agents. So let's give this a perception check, and this will just kind of be a general perception check. They're just kind of keeping their eyes out to see for anybody who's, they're on edge. Kind of looking out for each other. So that is so she gets a +1 to that, so that's a 20, which hopefully should pass. It does. That's a 13 for the DC. Alright, so then we're going to... Have we seen anybody from, like, Norcruth's gang following us? No, not at all. So Norcruth, I think that one means that Norcruth has left the city. As far as we know, Norcruth's out of the picture. And so, Conservatory's not following us. The guards were following us. The gas agents. Anybody from the gas agents? No. Anybody from the Bounty Hunters Guild? That's kind of the last question. No. Alright. So the only people, as far as that we know, at this point, as they're kind of keeping an eye out as they've moved through town, going to the muster and now leaving the muster, is guards. So we haven't seen anybody else who's kind of been watching us or following us or anything like that. So that's good. All right, that's good. All right, so we have a very limited time to get out of the city. Is there anything else? Well, we gotta go find. So I assume they beeline it almost directly once they have that ultimatum. It was like, this is our one chance. We gotta find Harold's contact in the Basilica district, which is quite nearby. Yes, they head over to the Basilica district. Let's see, does anything happen to them on their way there? And that's a D20, not a D12. Yep. Alright, but that is a sort of a street thing. I just want to ask a yes or no question before we get started with it. Does this have anything to do with the guards? Yes. Okay. So this will have something to do with the guards. But let's see what that is. Let me roll it. And if this is your first time playing with this, I have basically a 2d20 table for sort of urban dressing. Like, it's just sort of small encounters that you can run across that aren't necessarily combat encounters or big things. They're just kind of things that end up happening to you as you move around the city. So number 2 is some sort of ne'er-do-well running 3-card Monty. And Hue and Cry race is number 12. Both of those can very easily involve the guards. But I'm going to go with 12. I think there's a Hue and Cry. I think they're walking through the streets, on their way to the Basilica district, passing through the markets and wares and shop fronts. And, classic, there's somebody running through the crowd, knocking things over and kind of busts in between them and kind of pushes through. And there's the hue and cry, and you see, there are lots of people chasing after them, and now, of course, the guards are getting swept up into that as well. And so I think they need to hide from the guards. So they're both individually hiding, so I don't think that they get to have advantage on this roll. So this is just going to be, I guess it's a stealth check? They're just kind of trying to be inconspicuous and try to push themselves against the wall, I think. So she has a +1 to this, so 12. All right, that's pretty low. That's a fail. That's 15. All right, so they're trying to be inconspicuous, and I think. Is it the thief that points them out? That's an interrupted scene. I'm not sure I want to do an interrupted scene. This is already kind of by itself an interrupted scene. We're kind of going against the Oracle quite a bit today, but it's just kind of the nature of the beast right now, because we're just kind of in a weird spot where sometimes the dice don't play nice with us. So I'm actually gonna roll that again to get a better yes or no answer. Okay, so that's a no. Alright, so here's the point. So it's probably like one of the cars that ends up sort of like bumping into them, and probably, I'm gonna say, knocking Lia over, and then she's knocked over, the sort of like the muffler she had sort of covering her face is kind of awry, and then right, you can see her full face with the big scar, and this guard's looking at him and is like, wait. I think you get the sort of like Metal Gear Solid like exclamation point that goes up, right? Oh, wait. I need to investigate this more. So that way, and I like to do that sometimes. Those who've watched before kind of know that, is that it can be it's really difficult, and this is kind of for D&D in general, or any tabletop RPG, is it's really, really difficult to have a sort of binary succeed fail state. And that's actually, I remember watching a video many, many years ago talking about exactly why the exclamation mark happens in like Metal Gear Solid, and the design kind of ideas behind that is that it's your first misstep, but it's not necessarily a game ending fail state, right? It's not a situation ending fail state. It's that you can still hide, you can maybe take the guard out, but you're not totally in stealth as you were before. So you're not like in the safe zone. You're in the danger zone. Danger zone. So that's what I'm going to go with here. So the guard's like, wait. I've been looking for you or someone that meets your description. Who are you? Gosh, what are they going to do in this? Now, there is a bunch of people that are sort of pushing through here. She doesn't really have any sort of like mind magic or anything like that. So I do have an important question. We did say, is there any fire around? Are there any sort of like lanterns or torches or things of that nature? No, of course not. That would make it too easy. And it is daytime. That does kind of make sense. There's not a whole bunch going on. It's like, then we could have a distraction. Well, how is she going to get her way out of it? I'm not sure she has anything to do that. And if you don't have any way to do that, you know what that means? That means you're just gonna run, I think. Their ability to talk to the guards has not been very good, just in general in Carjington. So yeah, I think she's gonna book it. I think she's gonna try to get the heck out of here. Just immediately flee. Try to get into the crowd. So we'll do. I think that constitutes like sort of a mini skill challenge. I don't want to take this a whole bunch of time because we want to get back to looking after Harold's agents. But yeah, all right. So we're gonna have a little flight. The opposite of a chase, because we're being chased. Perfect. All right. So we're gonna do a little flight. I think just 3 rounds are probably enough. That's perfect. All right. So yeah, she's gonna take off. And let's see, what is sort of the first roll going to be? Are we going to come across something? All right, that's a 10. So she and Omer immediately kind of take off into the crowd, and now there's probably that guard and maybe 1 or 2 others sort of peel off to follow that one who didn't have direct eyes on the thief that they were chasing. So they're just kind of following following their comrades. And we come around the corner, and there's a chance that we're gonna run into, the classics, like somebody's carrying a whole bunch of boxes or something like that around the corner, and you're a chance to run into them. So I think that this is going to be sort of a dexterity acrobatics check. That's not a very good one. That is a very high DC that we did not get anywhere close to. Alright, well, that's a fail from us. So I think they run around this corner, and Omer end up sort of like slamming into this person who's carrying, heavy boxes, and they spill all over the place, and then they kind of roll over and they're like scrambling to their feet as much as they can, and still take off and still running as the guards are like hopping over the person they've bowled over in the boxes and things of that nature, chasing after them. Stop there, criminal scum. Alright, that's our next roll. A 1. Some sort of large obstacle. I think this is going to be like a cart makes sense. I think just a cart that's slowly moving across sort of a side street, like across the intersection. And they're going to have to... let's see, they're going to have to do something to get around it. I think that this, the best way to do this is, I think they're going to try to vault it as they're running. Either vault it or maybe dive under it and just kind of like keep going. Because they don't really want to... It's a tight street and they don't really want to stop their momentum. So I think that's more of an athletics check. Jumping is usually athletics in 5e. So let's do that. She has a +1 to this. 9. Man, the rolls are not with us today. Really struggling to get, double-digit numbers, it feels like. Alright, well, that'll do it right there. That's already a 10. So, okay. Alright, well, that's 2 fails, so we've definitely failed. Let's see. Just for funsies, let's see what else comes up. Alright, 5. Which would be some sort of slick spot. So there's some sort of something that's spilled, like, maybe it's grease, or maybe it's just water on the cobblestones, or maybe it's refuse, liquid refuse somebody's thrown out some upper story window. Anyways, there's a slick spot. Do Lia... Yeah, I'm just gonna say, yeah. I mean, we can make the check, but I think they're probably gonna fall down. Yeah, they're probably gonna fall down. Yep, sure do. So they're running around. They run across this slick spot, and they do the sort of like thin ice, like whoop, 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 then kind of fall over into it, into this gross street muck, whatever that is. Maybe we shouldn't ask questions. It probably smells quite bad though. At least Lia has prestidigitation, so she can take care of it later. But as they do that, the guards close in. I say... So let's do this. How many... We've got some guards, right? Let's look up some guards real quick. There's guard. And actually, what I want to do is... Alright. Alright, so, yeah, up to 6 guards. Let's do a d6. How many guards actually end up coming this way? Alright, so 3 guards. So 3 guards end up running, chasing into us as they go down, and they're sort of picking themselves up out of the muck, and they kind of quickly surround them. I think there's lots of screams as people back out of the way. And the guards are probably in here, right? Tip me. Actually, it'll probably tell me, huh? I should probably just do that. No. 347. Alright, guard. There we go. Alright, so our guards go on initiative 11. There are 3 of them, and they have 11 hit points. Not 22, 11. We'd be in a lot of trouble if they had 22. Alright, let's roll some initiative. For Lia first. Okay, good. So she'll go before. And Omer will go after. Alright, so they've gotten stopped. So I'm going to go ahead and start with Leia kind of proned on the ground. So she is prone on the ground. She will spend half her movement to get up, obviously. There's really no reason for her to be laying on the ground. So where she slipped, I want to know, like, is there a good awning thing? Man, I always forget, is Grease a level 1 spell or a level 2 spell? It's level 1, okay. Alright, so she could cast Grease, which would be a good one to kind of add. So, is there any awning or like something she can grab onto and sort of get herself off the ground? Yes, okay. So she spent half her movement to get up. I think she's going to spend the rest of her movement to sort of jump onto whether it's maybe a constructed like shade awning or something that's nearby, a sort of like overhang for a shop entrance or something like that she can kind of grab onto and sort of pull herself up onto. So she's going to do that, and then she's going to cast Grease down below her where everybody's standing. And that will be her turn. On Grease, I believe they have to make a... What is the DC on this? Dexterity saving throw. Okay. Oh, and it becomes difficult terrain. Alright, so she does that. She casts the Grease. It is the guard's turn. They all need to make dexterity saving throws, and they get a +1, I believe. Let me double check. Yeah. So they'll get a +1. And if they don't get it, they'll end up sloshing around and falling down. Alright, that's 1 pass. 2 pass. 3 pass. Well, definitely burned that spell for no freaking reason. Awesome. Feels good. Feels great. Really enjoying it. Alright, so they don't fall down. It is difficult terrain, though, right? Yeah. Now, are they going to try to... I assume they try to apprehend Omer first, because he's on the ground. He's easy for them to get to. So yeah, well, they'll all make attempts to basically grapple him, which I don't remember 5e grapple rules in general. It's just something that happens so infrequently that I don't always keep the rules for that, because it really just doesn't come up that often. But I believe it is a strength check. I think I'm just going to make this contested. Any checks? Yeah, we'll just make the... What are the guards? What is there? They have +1 strength. Yeah. So they're going to try to grab Omer. Alright. So I'm going to say that one probably not going to grab Omer, but let's double check. Nope. Alright, the second one tries to grab Omer. The second one fails to grab Omer. Third one tries to grab Omer. Alright, Omer. Like a oiled up piglet just rolling around in the muck as they try to grab him. He's just so greased up, Danny DeVito style from It's Always Sunny. Clean, just goopy, just street muck and grease, magical grease. It's very disgusting. Just slick all over. All right, well, that's what they spin doing on their turn. But that also means that they all ended their turn in the grease as well. So, and I didn't roll for Omer's thing because he was already in the grease and he was already laying down. He couldn't go more prone than being prone already. So they'll try to make their saves again. That's actually going to fail. Her DC's 13. That one will pass. Okay, so two of them, as they're trying to grab this slicked up, greased up Omer, and their hands are just sliding off of him, and then they slip and fall on the ground, except for one who's still there. Omer is not dumb. This is his turn. He's not a good fighter. We know this. But one of the cool things that did happen for Omer is that as an expert sidekick, when he gets to level 2, he gets the bonus actions of basically a rogue. He gets the cunning actions. So he's able to dash, disengage. He could already help as a bonus action, but also hide as a bonus action. So he can disengage from this thing completely and get out of it. And then he's just going to hoof it. So he's going to disengage and hoof it. Actually, is he going to disengage and hoof it, or is he just going to run? Because he'll get so much more if he can just dash. He's got 12 hit points, though, and he's got a 10 AC. Yeah, no, he's going to dash. Or he's going to disengage, and then as his actual action, he will dash, so he'll get his double movement and out. And then it's Lia's turn, and Lia is gonna hop back down into the streets and make a run for it. She is also going to dash as her action, and I don't think she has any cool bonus actions. Does she? I thought about setting the grease on fire, but that would probably just get us right back in shackles and right back to being in the morning musters for community service if we start setting things on fire. And I feel like we've done enough in Cartoonton already. We've done plenty of trouble. Let's just get the heck out of here. So that is sort of our plan for right now. We're just gonna get the freak out of here. So yeah, they take off at a run. For sure. So I'm going to give these guys one opportunity to see if they can extricate themselves from the grease and get out of here. So I'm going to give a disadvantage on these saves for the guys that were prone, and it's just kind of to bring this scene to a close real quick. Yeah, so he's still tied up. The other guard is 2. The 12 still is a failure, and then this one does not have disadvantage because he was already up, so we're going to use this one. Which will be a 13, so it'll pass. So they're still being followed by one guard who's still kind of chasing them, so we're kind of back into a chase again. Alright, so the big question is, they both dash, so do they have enough... Did they make enough separation that they can break eye contact, basically line of sight? I'm going to give this a +3 because they both did a dash on their turn. While that guy had to waste half his speed getting out of the difficult terrain of the grease. So I think it's +3. Alright, good. Alright, so they can break line of sight, which means that they can hide. So yeah, I think they're both going to go hide. So Lia will pick a spot, and she will hide in her stealth. She gets +2 to... yes. No, +1. Sorry. Look at the wrong stat. Looking at her charisma for some reason. Of course, a 10. Alright. So this guy is actively looking for us, so I'll make him have an active perception check. Wow, he actually rolls less than that. I was not expecting that. I was expecting him to immediately catch them, but he's greased up, and I think he does one of those things where the guards running after them realizes lost sight of him, kind of runs to the nearest intersection, kind of like looks each way, trying to figure out where people went, and then as soon as he's like, I don't see any evidence of which way they went, kind of turns around and goes back to help the other guards out of the grease mire that Leah's left. All right, so that's scene done. So they're going to make it to the Basilica district. Of course, before they get there, Leah does have prestidigitation. She is going to clean the grease and dirt and grime off of herself and do the same for Omer. So we don't have to walk around smelling like, engine grease and whatever gross refuse or whatever it was that was on the ground to begin with, which I'm going to guess probably did not smell good. Street muck. But that's gone now, so totally clear, totally cleaned up. And they make it into the Basilica district. So they were looking for a building that's under construction? Or, no, we don't know, right? We don't know whether it's under construction or under repairs, right? I think we talked about asking a question at that last time, but I don't think we actually ended up asking it because we didn't have any frame of reference on why we would know that. Right, because they had some flash flooding in the past that might be something that they're after. That might be something that would require repairs to a building. All right, so I think they're gonna do a circuit of sort of this area of the Basilica district and see if they can find anything. So I think the first thing is, so I'm just going to kind of give them, I think this is more of an investigation check, because they kind of know what they're looking for, rather than a perception check. So she'll have advantage, because there's two of them. So that's 16, 17, 18. 18 is pretty good. What's the DC here? I say that. But that's still only a 16. Okay, that's still fine. Okay, so we still beat it, but not by as much as I thought we were going to. Alright, so we did that. How many... So I just kind of want to get a figure on how many buildings do we think might fit the bill. We passed the test check, so I'm going to say we maybe narrowed it down to like 1d4 buildings. Okay, so 3 potential buildings. Alright, so let me do this. So we've got... Let's go back up to the top. Pop, 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 pop. So I think we're going to have 3 different buildings. We're going to have... And I think the easiest way to figure out what these buildings are is I'm just going to use my 1D100 table for NPCs. That usually works pretty well for something like this. No, I do have the 1D100 shops and market stalls. I tell you what, I'll run, since this is not necessarily a market district, I'm going to run on the NPC side first. If that number doesn't come up with something that makes sense, I'll flip over and use one of these shops and market stalls. Because since they're both 1D100 lists. Alright, 75. So this first one is potentially a knight-errant, lone adventurer, sellsword, or military order member. No, that might work. Who's in charge of this place? So, who's in the wards? In the Basilica, our half-orc wizard, our war wizard. So I'm trying to think if maybe somebody related to them. You know what? I'm gonna say that it's probably related to them, but I don't know which one of those is gonna be. So let's roll for it randomly. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so there's 4 of them. Let's roll 4, 2. So it was Knight Errant and then Lone Adventurer. All right, so it seems like it's the home of a relatively successful adventurer, maybe a retired adventurer. I like that. So construction, Lone Adventurers, home, and then we'll just put retired. All right, construction 2. Who else we got here? 37. 37 is Guild Artisan, Craftsman, or Guild Master. I don't think there were any guilds here, right? There's really not much going on in this specific ward. Yeah, there's really just the lodgings that are notable. So yeah, I like that sort of the guilder. So I'm gonna use I'm gonna roll that D100 again and use the market stalls table to kind of figure out what kind of guild maybe this person is part of. And I just rolled the same thing twice in a row. No, I rolled a 37 the first time. I was like, what are the odds? About 1 in 100. But I rolled a 35 with a fishmonger. Okay. Sure. It's like a fisher's guild, I guess. Mm. Yeah, I mean, we could do maybe a specialty. I'm just gonna do this for my own edification. Okay, yeah. This be like a. I think it's probably like a salted fish. Let's say saltfish. And a saltfish guilder's place. So basically, somebody who works in the guild that deals with the preservation, the drying and salting of fish. So as food preservatives, they can be shipped wherever and probably exported and make sure it's done safely and all that good stuff. All right, and we've got one other construction. 7. Okay. 07 is manual labor. That one's probably not. We're probably not gonna be able to use. So let's see what 7 is over here. Barber surgeon. Okay. So this is definitely a surgeon of the sort of old school idea. So for those who are not familiar for whatever reason, before physicians were kind of a thing, though I guess physicians were around. You had sort of barbers who did everything from what barbers do today, giving haircuts, beard trims, that sort of thing, to also kind of being local healers in the same way that a farrier used to be not just somebody who made horseshoes, but was also kind of a vet for animals as well. Same thing for the barber. So the barber would like lance boils, they'd do dental work, they'd cut your hair. They kind of did all of that sort of stuff. Probably help you set bones and things like that in nature. Again, this is probably relatively crude, but if it's in this district, then he's maybe a little bit more like a. I'm gonna say this person probably falls more on the barber side, and less as much on the surgeon side, since it's the government area, so it's probably a little bit more. I assume it's a little bit more well-to-do. So there's probably some actual physicians around. So people are probably only going this for very minor things, or for normal like haircut, shave, that kind of stuff. Maybe some minor medical issues, things of that nature, when they need like a salve or something. So we need to figure out on these second ones, are these shops or are these homes? All right, for the gilder, is this a shop? Yes. For the barber, is this a shop? Yes. All right, that makes sense for the barber. All right, so these are both. So most people would live technically above their shops. So both of these are basically shops and homes. So shop/home. All right, so those are the three things that we think might be kind of picked out as maybe being one of Harold's contacts. Let's get a check in on Omer. So Omer's going to try to decrypt that cryptic clue we got, the cipher that we got from Harold. Let me see. Have I actually put that in Adventure Threads yet? Cipher clue. So I think we kind of talked last time about making it an effort die, maybe? Let's do that. Okay, 24 is not a terrible DC. So to decrypt. So let's see. Let's check in. We kind of had a little bit of downtime over the night, and we didn't check in with what Omer's doing. So other than sleeping, because he was unconscious for a while. So let's give Omer a basic intelligence check, which he doesn't have anything in, but he does have the +2 to create ciphers. He's basically trained in creating ciphers, right? So he just gets a flat +2. Alright, so 13. So he feels like he's got it pretty good under the way. And the reason I wanted to ask in and check in on this is to see if any of that gives us any inclination as to who the contact is. I think that's 50-50 shot. Okay, yeah, so we got some sort of clue. So I wonder which one it points to. Alright, well, let me ask the Oracle this question. Does it point towards? Is it like a positive clue that points towards one of the three? Because it could also be a negative clue that maybe rules out one of the three. So is it a positive clue? No. So if it's not a positive clue, it must be a negative clue. Which of the ones does it kind of rule out? One. Okay. So something about the cipher clue. So maybe it says something like, oh, the cipher clue, let's say, mentions like a tradesperson or an artisan. Like a craftsperson. So I think that kind of puts him away as maybe not being the lone adventurer's one. Now, again, we're making a lot of suppositions, right? If that adventurer is technically retired, maybe they picked up a craft. Could be the same. You could say that they deal in the craft of violence, if you wanted to, you know. But it is like one piece of clue that's like maybe not this one, so maybe that's not the first one we check out. Let's check the book. Let's see if Harold's book has. Does Harold's book have a passage in it that deals with one of the things? Maybe whether that's a a love of a specific type of salted fish, or I'm gonna say -5 on this. I think it's minus. Yeah, -5. I don't feel like this would have. Well, I mean, it could be about the barber though. It could be about the barber. I didn't think about it. I mean, we need clues, right? I'm trying to figure out, do I want it to be a -5 or -3? Don't usually do this, but I guess I'll just split the difference and go -4. Rather than try to have this debate with myself. Didn't matter anyways. Didn't matter. Because the answer is no. An emphatic no. Alright, so anything that's written in the book is talking about some random thing that's going on that has nothing to do with this. Like, okay. Alright, so we've got that clue. So we've got maybe one of these two that we want to check out. I'm going to guess that we do not have enough time to check out all three of these and get out of the city before 5 o'clock with whether we have a race or not. So we need to pick one and hope that's the right one, and if that's not the right one, it's the other one, and hopefully it's not this one. Alright, who do we go to first? Both these people talk to a lot of people. Right, a barbershop's a pretty big rumor mill kind of place. It's a pretty good way to pick up information and pass it around, so that's kind of a point in that's favor to maybe check that out. But it could be the Saltfish Gilder, because that person deals with people outside of the city all the time. Their network is going to be much broader, much wider net. So I think let's check out here first. So let's check out the Saltfish Gilder. But before we do that, I am going to refill my tea. So I'll be right back very, very soon. And then we will get on to our investigation. Does that sound good with everybody? All right. Give me just a minute and I will be right back. Okay, bye guys. All right, and we're back. Thanks for hanging out. Got some tea, just waiting for it to cool down. All right, so let's figure out who we're going to first. I think we're going to go to that Saltfish Gilder, that's what I said. Now, how do we approach this? Because we didn't really get any sort of password or thing. Maybe that's in the cryptic clue. We don't know yet. But right now we don't have like any sort of like secret handshake or password or something like that. So I guess let's go straight there, and then we'll try to, I guess, talk to somebody. So they're going to go there. They're going to make a perception check. Of course, they've got advantage because it's Lia and Omer. And basically, we're trying to see if the building owner is actually there. Because, again, it's under construction, so they might not be there. Alright, so that is a... I'm looking at the wrong sheet, but I know that is a 17 because she has a -1 wisdom, but she is trained in it. Alright, just enough. That was a 16. All right, so is the owner here? All right, they know for sure that the owner is here, and they approach the Saltfish Gilder, who's, I guess, overseeing part of the construction of this store. Now, how are Lia and Omer going to approach this person? I guess they have the letter. They could show the letter, even though the letter's technically not in his handwriting. I don't know if that's a good clue, but it is basically the one bit of actual tangible evidence we have, other than the cryptic clue. But it's undeciphered fully at this point, so it doesn't really help us. So yeah, I think they just kind of walk up and be like, "I'm sorry, excuse me. Um, did you know Harold Smudges, the librarian up at Riverside Conservatory?" And as soon as I bring up the name, I want to give them an insight check to see like if they can read any sort of specific reaction that this Gilder has. And she wouldn't be able to confer with him on that, so I'm not going to give her advantage. I mean, that's 12. We could potentially pass it. Yeah, she might pass it. Yep, that's 11. She just passed it. All right, does this Gilder have any sort of specific reaction to that news about as soon as that name comes up? Yeah, well, technically that's an interrupt scene. And we have been pushing the interrupt scene, so let's actually do an interrupt scene. So the answer is, I'm going to stick with 11 being on the yes side. So yes, but as they're having this conversation, she recognizes that this person is having an actual physical reaction, which brings up the name. And then we can jump into that in a second. But what is going to happen while they're having this discussion? That's a good question. So 9, some sort of information or technology, ordinary. So finding or seeking this piece of information. Who? It's another person. Thing. That's hazard or obstacle ordinary. So they would need to find some sort of information that's in some sort of hazard, hidden behind some sort of hazard or obstacle. I'm not going to go with a natural obstacle. I'm going to go with a... So this interrupt scene is that they sort of come up to talk to this Gilder and sort of do that, and as the Gilder turns around to sort of speak, I think that this Gilder... Maybe this Gilder's well off to do, and I think this Gilder maybe has some... Some people that interpose themselves between Lia and Omer and the Gilder. Now, I want to ask a question: are these official bodyguards? Like, are they dressed like sellswords, like actual bodyguards, like that the Gilder is hired? Yes. Okay. Which I think tells us that that's gonna inform me without having to try to figure out what the reaction is that we got. Is that reaction is going to be startled. Like this Gilder turns around as soon as they start talking about Harold Smudges, like he's like, "Whoa, And he's backing up, and these bodyguards step in and start brushing them off as being the obstacle in the way of them seeking their information. So I think that they back up and they're like, "Whoa, whoa," because I think these bodyguards come in pretty hot and heavy, ready to go, ready to rumble if that's the case. Yeah, I think Lia and Omer are back up like, "Oh, whoa, it's fine. Here, hold on." And I think she pulls the letter out, the original letter from Harold. That's forged and not written by Harold. Just kind of like hands to the guards to hand on to their employer. And I think Leah's like, "Look, I received that letter a few weeks back. I came here to Cargenton, found out that Harold's apparently dead. Just trying to figure things out. Thought, that you might know something about what's going on." And kind of like, Gilder kind of takes that, kind of opens up the message, which I assume is sort of like a rolled up scroll at this point, and reads it. Looks back at them. All right, I'm gonna give her sort of a persuasion check. She has Omer there too, who's also helping to sort of like fill in details and kind of yes man and yes and like nod along beside him. Or does Omer? I can't remember who has the better persuasion score. Technically, she does, right? So it's a 15. Are they successful? It's probably going to be a no. That's definitely a no. That's 21. Immediately clocks it as a forgery, right? I guess. Maybe. We don't know for sure. Whatever it is, not impressed by the letter. And I think they sort of like roll up the scroll and toss it back to Lee. And it's like, "Sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about." And just kind of turns around and kind of goes back to their business. And I think the bodyguards just kind of like push him off and away. Now, do they read anything out of that? I mean, this person obviously had a very specific reaction to it. And then it seems like maybe they brought them, kind of regathered their countenance and was like, kind of put their things back in place and was just kind of like standoff and was like, "I don't know what you're talking about," and kind of reframed it. I don't think we even need to roll for that. I think that's very clear that there's more to that story. So I think at this point, so now Lia and Omer are kind of caught in a weird space. They can, depending if this person doesn't want to talk to them because it's broad daylight in the middle of the street, and they need to come back and maybe talk to them at a later point, or maybe follow them to find out where they're staying, because they're obviously not probably staying in their under construction home. Or totally forget this for now and go check on our other lead. What do we think they would do? Well, they can't wait very long, right? That's really the major issues. They got to be out of here by sundown, basically. I mean, it's not going to actually be sundown, but by the end of the working day, they need to be out of the city. So if this person's waiting around for a full day of construction, they're not going to have a chance to talk to him. So I think they are going to. Let's make some notes. So we're gonna make some, had a visceral reaction to the herald's name, and they're going to be pretended question mark not to know anything about the library. And I'm assuming there's 2 bodyguards. That was just my assumption. All right. So I think that means that we should go check out the barber surgeons. And this may be the only place that we're going to get to. We might be able to do one more before. No, probably not if we're going to try to get a rise out of the city. Which I think is a conversation they would have had before they went to the muster, actually. So let's just do that right now. Let's figure that out before we get too much further. Whether we got to help Arias get out of the city or not. Did Arias want help getting out of the city? Just an oracle roll. No. Okay, so he doesn't. Is he leaving the city? Is that why he doesn't need help? No. He's staying in the city. Okay, so Rice is going to stay in hiding in Carjunton. Did he give us a reason for that? No. Alright, so Rice is staying in town, but he didn't give us a reason why. So we're going to change this to our goal. So we don't need to worry about that. Stay in hiding in... Sorry, this is, I think, below where you can see it. There we go. So he is going to stay in hiding in Garjunton. Did not... instead of that, did not provide any more details. Everybody's being very secretive with them, it seems like. Even people who are, as far as we can tell, on our side and also being threatened by, I assume, the same enemy. As far as we can tell, the same group or person or whoever it is, whatever faction this is, that is really screwing with them, that's tied to their research and elementals and primordial origin of dragons. So that's it. So we don't need to worry about Arias. So I assume that this has taken most of the morning. At this point, I definitely think it's into midday at this point. So then they're going to go check out the barber surgeon shop instead. All right. So we'll give them another perception check to see if their owner is there. Oh, that's a pretty good one. That's a 19. Oh, yeah. Absolutely nuke that. Is the owner here? Do we want to do another interrupt scene? So I'm going to stick with the 10 being a no. So the answer is no. Yeah, sure. Let's do an interrupt scene. Why not? And, just for fun stuff, let's start with the action kind of side first. 6. Defend versus destruction. Extraordinary. An extraordinary hazard or obstacle. Location ordinary. Yeah, okay. I think I get this. There are people working on things, and they come up and they're starting to sort of investigate, trying to figure out if they can figure out who the owner is of the building, as they kind of see what kind of observe people coming in and out and working and stuff. And then I think what it ends up being out is I think that this is going to be an undead encounter. This is going to be another one of these weird undead that I'm going to guess that the workers' rowels inside the building must have been in the building somewhere. There's a scream. So obviously for us that's a hazard because we're pretty sure, though we don't have a lot of factual evidence to back it up yet, just kind of a theory on Lia and Omer's part at this point, is that the slaver's affliction is tied to the undead creation, right? We kind of thought about that. So, all right, so so this is gonna be a combat encounter, I think, which will be a good way to sort of like finish out this session, I think. All right, so that's sort of on the easy side. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this level 1. Let's get some filters going on. What do we got here? Let's go for undead. What the filter set on? I guess reset the filters. I don't know what the filter was. Oh, I searched guard, didn't I? That's what I did. Let's do a different one. I don't really like a bunch of crawling claws. Actually, I guess I'll do crawling claws. I think it'll be fun to make it like a bunch, right? So we'll do like six crawling claws, and then we're just gonna reflavor these as being like super weak zombies rather than the normal zombie. And they are in the monster manual, page 44. All right, let me set this real quick. Let's go up the top. All right, so we got our weak. We're gonna call them weak zombies. We said we were gonna have 6 of them. There's 2 hit points, and they go on 12. Lia's initiative. Good. Omer's initiative. Even better. Okay. So Omer's going to take the drop on this, and so it's going to be Omer, and then Lia. And then our weak zombies. So yeah, and this makes perfect sense that there's a bunch of zombies in the barber surgeon place. These might be people who died here, or was kind of using triage, or was trying to treat their affliction, and now they've come to life. And now, so it's Omer's turn to go first. Omer obviously probably does not want to get anywhere close to these things. Again, not much of a fighter. So I think he'll position his way. I think like there are worksmen like that were working on this building, sort of like filtering out, like yelling as they're running out the door, getting chased by these things that are kind of coming out into the street. Again, this is gonna be literally the first time that we've seen these undead in the daytime. And as far as we can tell, that's only because they were disturbed. So they must have some sort of torpor that kind of sits in, or some sort of like slowdown. They don't do a lot during the day, I guess, as far as we can tell. So I'm just going to use a sling against one. That's a 10. Does a 10 hit? I don't think their AC is very high, right? Nope, their AC is 12. So Omer lets one fly, and that doesn't help. I think he will. I think he'll try to hide on his turn. These things are going to be pretty dumb. So, what's their intelligence? Yeah, 5. So, he's going to use his bonus action to kind of like hunker down behind some crates or behind a corner of a wall or something. Kind of get out of sight, out of mind. That leaves us with Lia's turn. And I think Leah's going to fire off a... Oh, that's a good question. There is mold earth. Is there any... This is a construction site. Is there any actual just like loose dirt around? I think that's likely. I'm going to give that a +3. Yeah, 16. Alright, so instead she's going to like lift her staff and hold her book and kind of swing it around and be like... Kind of pull in all the soil and build it into that 5-foot cube and just kind of stuff it into the doorway to keep these things inside the building with 5 cubic feet of dirt, which is quite a bit of dirt. So yeah, I'll give them... They're pretty dumb. Like I said, they've got a -3, so I'm just gonna give them a basic intelligence. I'm gonna basically make this an intelligence saving throw against her spell DC to be like, are they smart enough to figure out how to get over this thing, over this bunch of dirt that's clearing up the hallway, that's clearing up the doorway. This one's a real thinker. These zombies are frail, but they're incredibly smart. All right, well, a natural 20 is a natural 20, I guess. Even with the -3, it's a 17. That still beats her spell DC easily. Okay, sure, why not? So on their turn, they're going to spend their turn basically crawling out of this. We said there were 6. How many of these? We're just going to roll a d6. How many get out in this first turn? Just one. Okay, so just one kind of climbs over this big thing of dirt. And it's kind of crumbling all around it because remember, it's loose dirt. It's not like it's stone. And gets out into the street. But they're very slow, so I don't think would have enough room to get to anybody to injure them. Which brings us back to the top. Omer's been in hiding. Was he well enough hidden? I'm going to give him advantage on that check. Yeah, I mean, that's a 17, I think. Let's see what they're... Yeah, alright, so they're not paying attention. So he'll get advantage on that attack. So he'll try to sling it at this one. That's a 20. Not natural, but it's 20. Come on, 2 points damage. Gosh, Omer. Buddy, you're killing me. All you had to do was not roll a 1 to kill this thing. And you're like, no, this one's only getting 1 point of damage. You can really, like, if it's selling the fantasy that Omer is not a fighter, building a sidekick like this does that very well. So if you want to make non-combat oriented sidekicks for either a solo game like this or to help, round out maybe some skills or something, if you're running like a 5e D&D game, feel free to do it because unless you're tuning them for combat, the sidekicks can be a real detriment in combat. Not their liability. That's what I should say. Not just detriment, but the liability. Because Omer's not taking anything down with ease. Alright, well, he did his 1 damage. I guess he goes back to hiding. Sure. Great job, guys. And, well, everybody's already kind of corked up in this doorway. Do I have... Does Leia have a big... No, she's got... Oh, but she does have her method. Yeah, I think this is a good time. I was thinking if she had like burning hands or something like that. She has a chromatic aura is really the only AOE spell she kind of has right now, and that wouldn't be great for this situation. But Ignis is basically burning hands. So he's going to come up and do a fire breath. How many of these things can he get in the fire breath? We'll just roll a d6. It's going to have to be at least 1. I think more than 1, but let's see how many. Alright, so he can just get 2. So he can kind of get the one that's out of the dirt and the one that's climbing over the dirt right now. That's all he's going to be able to get. But honestly, if they're in range, even if they make the save, it does 2d6 damage. They literally can't soak that damage. So it's going to straight up kill 2 of them. But let's roll the damage just because damage is fun. Rolling the dice is fun, even if they're digital. Of course, then we roll high damage when we know... and even 2 damage. We literally can't not kill these creatures. Alright, but that's the first 2 done. Alright, so 2 of these have been killed. So let's see, 1d4. Then more filtering out. How many get through this time? Just 1. Okay, so just 1 gets out. Same thing. Not going to be able. We knew this probably wasn't going to be a very strong combat, but this is what it is. Omer will. This thing was inside. There's no way they could have seen it him hiding outside, so he'll get advantage. Definitely going to hit. Come on, Omer. Okay. So Omer straight up slings this time, and this time his aim's really true, and you see that sling bullet, that stone just crash into one of these things' heads, and that sickening crunch of bone, and this thing kind of falls like a sack of potatoes on the ground next to the charred corpse of its friends. It is Leah's turn. Does Igni recharge his breath? He does not. So Igni gets out of there. Leah's gonna, I think, just... she has... let me check Frostbite real quick, because I think that actually slows you, right? Is Frostbite the one that slows you? No. Alright. Then yeah, she's just going to firebolt the closest one she can see. Now, these guys do have cover, for sure. They're going to have 3/4 cover, so they get a +5 to their AC, so their AC is 17. Which she still beats. Nice. Alright, thank goodness it's not a 1. So she levels her staff and fires another bolt of fire that slams through this sort of darkened doorway over the mound of dirt that's in it and crashes through the head of another in there, and sort of a splinter sparks. And so we take down another one. Alright, so if I roll low, only 1 gets out. If I roll high, then both of them are going to get out this turn. Alright, I rolled high, so they both get out. But again, they still don't have enough room to attack anybody. So Omer will try to sling one. He's still hiding. Again, they wouldn't have seen him because they were inside before that. That's still going to hit because they don't have cover anymore. Don't roll a 1. Okay. Kills 1. We have 1 remaining zombie. It's Leah's turn. Alright, Leah, do your thing. Alright? Nice and easy roll. Don't need a lot. Needed more than that, though. So her spell +5, so that's only 11. That does not hit their AC of 12. This one is going to move up. I assume that it's going to go after Leah. Leah's definitely not the one that's hiding in cover. So she's probably the Well, I guess I should roll the chest of Oracle. Is there any closer target than Leah? I'm gonna say a -3 to this. Yes. Okay. So there is unfortunately somebody who is nearby. This thing kind of just like runs over somebody's huddling down and tries to attack him and grab him and tries to make a chomp on this random NPC. Well, that hits NPC's 10. How much do these guys actually do with damage? I wasn't expecting them to actually get an opportunity to attack anybody. 1d4 plus 1. Just bludgeoning damage. They just kind of slam into him. So 3 points of damage. I think a commoner has 4 hit points. Okay, yeah. So did not kill that person. Good. We're trying not to let that happen. Omer's up. Omer has advantage still. He will not hit. Leah does Ignia recharge. No. She will attempt to firebolt. That will hit. And that will be enough to kill the last one. Alright. But not before it bit somebody. Or scratched them, or whatever these zombies do. We have no idea how their affliction is spread. Well, no, because this thing has hurt Omer, and as far as we know, Omer's not afflicted with anything. We haven't, though, or at least it hasn't come up, so we wouldn't have any reason to detain this person, I don't think. Based off of what we know about the affliction. We don't know how people are turning into zombies. But Omer got attacked and injured by a zombie, a couple days ago? And he hasn't shown any other signs of any sort of affliction, so... Alright, so... I think the pressing question, and this may be the last thing... This may be the last question that we ask this evening. What we want to know is... I don't want to frame this question. I think, Are any of the corpses the building owner? Because we know that this building owner is a barber surgeon, did potentially work with these people who were maybe in the building because they were being treated. So, and I think there's a 50-50 shot. Is the barber surgeon among the corpses? The dead corpses? No. Okay, good. No. So I think while everything's kind of unsettled and stuff, I think Lia and Omer take the opportunity to be like, we're going to check down there to see if there are any more, which I'm going to assume there aren't anymore, but they're going to use that as a means to get actually into the building and keep other people out so they can have at least a few minutes to look around before the guards start showing up and dealing with things. And of course, we don't want to be here when the guards get here. And so they kind of peek their head in the door. I think Leah uses her mold earth to move the dirt to the side, and then they walk in, and then she kind of moves the dirt back over the doorway to keep any more zombies from getting out, but really is to keep anybody else from following them inside. And I think that's where we're going to leave it. So we're going to leave them off with they are. So let's finish up our notes. So. So I'm just going to make a note. These are crawling claws. That's what we're using for them. Like zombies. Disturbed by workers. Like zombies came out of the building. We are and Omer are going into the building. And then, just as a general reminder, quick reminder, thus we have to be out of the city by basically 5 p.m. And it is probably a little past noon now. So this is probably going to be the last thing they're going to have a chance to do before they get out of the city. But I think this is a good place to end it. We'll come in, we'll figure out what's in this house. They'll maybe get a lead as to where they need to go. That'll give me some time to kind of look back at the map and see if there's maybe some other locations that we need to add as potential places the clues might lead us to. And then we'll pick that up. Yes, next Thursday. I was trying to remember. So next Thursday, we're good. We're still on. Thursday after that, I'm actually going to be on vacation, so I won't be streaming there because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in a different state doing different things, and so I'm going to have some fun. And then, of course, we'll come back and we'll pick everything back up again. But thank you for coming along with me. This has been a lot of fun. I really wish we had rolled better during most of this session, but the first half of this session was real tough on the rolls. Actually, the entire session was pretty tough on the rolls. So hopefully we get a little bit more luck next time. And we did our best to sort of tiptoe out of danger as much as we could. Try to extract ourselves from the community service thing, which was really, I feel like, weighing down the adventure. It was a fun thing for a while, but then after like 4 sessions of it, I was like, all right, we need to get it away from this. I'm getting tired of having to deal with this. And I assume that the characters are also getting tired. We're also getting tired of it because it's keeping them from doing the thing they wanted to do. So this has been a lot of fun. If you want to catch up with everything, like I said, we've got those things here. I'll just go ahead and drop this back out to chatting real quick. And we're back. So yeah, if you want to catch up on everything up to here, because again, this is episode 14. So if you want to catch up with the first 13 episodes, you can find them all on the YouTube below at Red Ragged Fiend, same as here. If you like this content and you want to be notified when I'm going to stream, we usually do the stream on what's Thursday evenings for me, which is 8:30 Eastern Daylight Time right now. 8:30 in the evenings, Eastern Time, which is 5:30 Pacific Time, right? 3 hours back? Central Mountain Pacific. Yes. 5:30 p.m. Pacific Time. In addition to this, sometimes I do impromptu streams, sometimes on Sunday. That's basically if my Sunday D&D game kind of falls through, kind of like have that backup so I can kind of do some extra content. We don't do the solo RPG stuff. I'll do some other things. We might go over like one of the dungeons I'm building or talk about prepping for games or things like that. It'd be a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that content, go ahead and give me a follow. If you want to go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe over there, you can also follow me on Twitter. All this is at Red Ragged Fiend down below, so easy. You also go to redraggedfiend.com where we do blogs. We just did a blog. I just put a blog up just over the weekend, right? Time's been real weird this week. I apologize. Things are just kind of all over the place. Things are really out of order. Right? We just did a blog. What did we just... I'm not crazy, right? We just did the blog. Yes, we just did the blog. Okay, good. It's about language mapping. So if you want to check that out, it's a lot of fun. It's in our world building series. And so we're talking about sort of how to maybe integrate languages into your world, into your campaign setting to make it a little bit more natural than the way D&D really doesn't pay very much attention to language. So if you like that and you want to learn about more stuff about world building or doing the solo RPG thing that we're doing or just Dungeon Master thing in general, that's a great source. I've been doing that blog for over a decade, so there's a lot of good stuff in there for you to sort of chew into and figure out and get to be a better game master and a better player. There's player stuff over there too. I didn't want to make that seem like it's just for DMs. There's plenty of player stuff that'll be really good for you, or if you're interested in maybe becoming a DM one day, or a game master for a different system than D&D. A lot of those tips kind of are system neutral in a lot of ways. So if you like that information, go down there and check that out. And I have some similar videos of that type also over on the YouTube page if you want to check that out. But that's going to be it for me. Thanks for coming in. This was a lot of fun. We're going to hit it back again on Thursday. So I will see you guys then. Bye, guys.